Peace to the gods, peace to the earths, peace to the positive people out there in the universe. INFMEGA here, building with you. A particular series of events had taken place at a law school in Mecca, and I'm going to unpack them for you so you can get an understanding of what happened. And as a 5%, we don't take anything on face value. In fact, we face the value and weigh and judge it for what it truly is, not for what we want it to be. And with that, let me get into it. A few months ago, I received a text from the God Shabi Allah, a journalist from the Source magazine, who also happened to be doing publicist work for a man named Solar. He asked me if I was interested in interviewing this man. I didn't know much about this person named Solar, other than he partnered with the legendary Guru from the legendary group Gang Starr after the group broke up somewhere in the late 90s or early 2000s. Now, of course, I was familiar with Guru's catalog during his time with DJ Premo, the other half of Gang Starr. However, it gets a little blurry for me after Gang Starr split up. It's clear that DJ Premo continued to work and contribute classics to hip hop, and Guru went on to form some kind of partnership with this man named Solar. The music that came from this partnership between Guru and Solar honestly didn't reach my radar. I do recall seeing Guru in publicity photos with someone that had a universal flag on. I also recall hearing some foul information regarding Guru's partnership with this man and unsettled disputes having to do with the rights to Guru's catalog or estate when he returned to the Essence on April 19, 2010, approximately 10 years from the date of this recording. Now, I want to be clear, this is not a platform for airing other people's business or the latest gossip. This is not the focus of the 5% media team. The focus is to document nation history and tell the truth about our nation and culture, whether it be by way of interview of our nation's citizens, producing and sharing music, poetry, or any kind of art that reflects our nation and culture, as well as communicate and collaborate with the community for a common cause. So I didn't have any interest into digging into a 10-year-old situation or dispute that appears to be shady or curiously questionable at best, having nothing to do with the 5% nation or its culture. However, this man has been seen in public wearing and representing the universal flag. At the same time, his name is attached to a very curious situation that many have questions about. So I agreed to do the interview, despite other media outlets not wanting anything to do with this man. I did it to document the truth about this man that wears a universal flag in addition to having a curious background. I figured I would give the man a chance to tell his own story in his own words. It's up to you, the observer, to draw up and conclude your judgment of what was said in this interview. Right before the interview took place, I did some research and I struggled to find anything positive on the man. I found an article from the Village Voice that spoke of hacked emails and calling this man the most evil man in hip hop. I came across a few other articles and blogs that didn't have anything nice to say about this man. I heard a doo-wop song that crushed Solar lyrically. I'm not sure how true the statements of the song were, however, it definitely wasn't nice at all. I also reached out to a few people in the nation that may have some information on the situation. Come to find out, my brother Sunyez Allah, also known as Skillustrator Low, for the Power Right show, had a conversation with Solar via telephone and later spoke on it during his Power Right show, in which he sent me some notes on.
And I know his speaking style and his talking points.
I later learned that Sunyez recorded the said phone call without Solar's knowledge. Needless to say, Solar wasn't happy about the call being recorded. On Sunyez's Power Right show, he has some harsh words for Solar, in which we will not include in this recording. We will keep it just and true and remain righteous all the way through. Sunez did have some interesting points to which I will be drawn from during this interview, because he is a better knower of the actual situation than I am. So he brought some actual facts that I didn't know. This is what we do as the 5%. We come together and we draw up the truth for what it is and not what it appears to be. So we will not be bashing this man Solar, rather drawing up the actual facts. I also found an interview that Solar did in 2011 with Sway. From these findings, I formed my questions for the interview. There were some key points in Sunez's notes that stood out to me, which come up during this interview with Solar, as well as some notes that I will compare from the Sway interview. Right before the interview, his publicist sent me 2 music videos that Solar wanted me to see of Guru to compare, as if to say Guru was in better shape with him than he was before he got with him. One video shows Guru to be what is described as bloated and unhealthy. The other, much more slim and camera ready. Solar walks into the school with his son, who sat behind us as we conducted this interview. He handed me a book.
Book we won't be talking about, guys.
This is the project you
This is the book.
This is when it becomes apparent that his motive is to promote this book.
I don't know if you got a chance to look at it, but this is my bio, my quick reference list to familiarize yourself. This is what the devil's been striving to hide and keep undercover and throw all kinds of dirt and slander. And since you're on me and the guy that ain't here to defend himself, this is the new source.
Being that this is a 5% outlet, I wanted to start with his history in this nation. Well, first of all, appreciate you coming through.
And let me say, I've been looking at your work. I'm impressed. Impressive piece of work.
I appreciate you.
And I enjoyed that piece with K-Born too on nourishment. And it's very important that we deal with that. Me and God was vegetarians, you know what I mean? So we both switched to vegetarianism and the Cypher God did it, you know what I mean? Okay. All right, well, let's get into it. I sent the God a couple links.
He sent me a link just now.
The video links. I wanted you to take a look because it illustrates a lot of what's been out there and what's true and what's not. The eye tells the truth. So if you look at right where you stand, that's when he was dealing with the negative ciphers of alcohol. Really, he was in the throes of it. Bankruptcy, jail cases. That's when he was running around with the guys from over here. God just he returned to his sons.
Kundalini?
Kundalini's sons. And then he was, sleeping on couches and such and such and such. So I sent you the videos just so that you can see the physical difference.
Right. No, I did do the knowledge.
So that shows and proves, and you see his physical physique. All this idea that the guy was some kind of punk or pussy, and he wasn't a man of his own sort. You know what I mean? To sort his own situation out.
One of Guru's, I don't know if it was the only one, but one of the major exposés on this story was when one of Guru's children's mothers said that when she was working for them, she constantly saw Solar slapping him and hitting him.
While building with the god K-Born, he informed me that Sunez was not 100% right and exact about this. It was a Caucasian woman that Solar was dealing with, that he has a child with, that made the accusation about Solar slapping and hitting Guru. Solar later describes this same woman as a groupie. Well, I've done some research, and as you know, like the elephant in the room is the whole Guru situation.
Yeah, I mean, and let's put it in perspective for everybody who's watching this. We're talking about a short period of time when he returned in 2010, that there was a whole program of disinformation, slander, outright lies, and that lasted for approximately 5 to 6 months after he returned. All of it was unverified, all of it was scurrilous and flagrant, and I'll go into later the parties involved.
Right.
But let's keep it 100. None of that has ever carried over past that period. So it was all said at that time, and that's it. So if you look at everything that's on Google, what manages to linger is all of it is time-stamped.
Right.
And it's all related to obvious feelings about situations with wills and money and listen.
Well, I mean,
in the physical world.
No, yeah, we're gonna get into that. You know what I'm saying? But as you know, that this is an independent.
Yeah, so there's nothing new that's been added to this whole situation
to the narrative. No,
except the book.
Right. No, but I want to, like I said, I want to take it step by step. And as you know, this is 5% media. You know, this is five. You know, we're 5%. So you know, we're gonna build on a little bit. So you know, we're gonna go through the mind and take it, step by step. And being that we are of the 5%, we don't take anything on face value. We face the value.
You know, I understand the feelings, the infuriation on some parts of people reading things that are obviously meant to make people feel a certain way. But we as a nation are not new to this. You know what I mean? The father was dragged through the mud for God knows how long.
For God knows how long? This man's language is a bit curious. I continue to do the knowledge.
Now, I came to this when we were still a gang.
For the record, the 5% Nation was never a gang.
We was...
Right,
There was no good guy attached to be a
That's what I want to get to. First off, you know, I want to give you a proper introduction. Like, who are you? Give me your name and where you're from.
Peace. My attribute is Solar God Allah, originally from Medina, specifically Bushwick and Bed-Stuy, which back then was do or die Bed-Stuy. And I also then spent some of my youth in Coney Island, and also spent some of my youth upstate in Warwick, in Orange County. So, but the bulk of my youth was Bushwick and Bedford-Stuyvesant and Coney Island. Okay. That's where I got knowledge of self back then. But knowledge of self back then was really...
And what year was that?
That was, say, about the God year.
Oh, wow.
I'm in the higher degrees. Yeah, I'm in the higher degrees. So I was there when hip hop was being born. I consider myself a part of that borning or birthing of the culture, an unsung hero, if you will. And at that time, hip hop was in crime and thuggism and stick-up kids. It was all one thing as far as the outside culture was concerned. So when they looked at us, all they saw was criminals and malfeasance and everything negative. They didn't see nothing positive, and they depicted everything that we did as negative. Now it's looked at differently. Graffiti was a crime back when. Now it's an art, which is beautiful, but it wasn't then. You know what I mean? So the same can go for even the great song the Guru wrote, Stick Up Kid. I mean, I lived that. That was me. That was what I did. You know what I mean? And other avocations, but you had to be in the culture to fully understand it. You know what I mean? To understand what it was. So we were essentially almost as depicted. You know what I mean? A gang. And then we
got to clean that up.
Yeah, and then we evolved. Like anything else. Not all of us, obviously, but at that time, as far as the police was concerned, and if you went to Rikers Island or went upstate, you weren't allowed to have your degrees. You weren't allowed to come together in a council. So there was a lot. We weren't allowed to have the special diets that, you know what I mean? So it was recently we won that federal case role, relatively recently, where we recognize is what we've evolved into now. What we are now is a positive. Well, we were positive then too, but you know, we have a history. Right.
And you said 77, right? That was
God, about God,
77, 78.
Yeah,
right? How old were you like about that time?
14. Knowledge culture.
It's 14. Okay, all right. Do you remember who gave you knowledge?
You know, I got it from a few gods. You know what I mean? So
here, I would like to reference the god Sunyez on his Power Right show.
And I say, well, who taught you this knowledge of self? Who did you go under the study? Who did you learn what these mathematics are, what this language is, what supreme alphabet is, and memorize it and learn 120 and what it means and how to apply it to all the things that you read and become a more well-rounded individual? All of these things. Who did you teach?
You know, at that time, the way it was in Bushwick, we used to have the rallies in Fort Greene Park. You know what I mean? So, so the older gods, we had Born Allah back then. From Medina.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know he was back and forth from up north and back, and I had Dashan Allah. That was his younger brother. You know what I mean? So between those two, I mainly got it from them. You know what I mean? At that age. But to be honest, it was a lot of jive percent.
Right. And this is what brings me to my next point is that like, you know, like, do you know about tracing your tree back to the roots? Like
I really start tracing my tree at around the knowledge build year. That's when I really got serious, started coming to the school, got my 120 on tap.
He must not understand what tracing your tree is.
I say, what is your tree? And for those who are unfamiliar, in the Nation of Gods and Earths, when we get this knowledge of self, we root it like a tree. So we have those who taught us, and it goes back to the very first teachers of Allah the Father who started this nation.
I went through that whole period of from Jai percent to knowledge of self.
So you
started to read,
you started getting serious
that's
at
right.
18.
Start to read books, stop eating the swine, you know what I mean?
Right. So you hadn't stopped eating swine in between from 14 to 18?
Yeah, I dabbled.
You dabbled, yeah?
I was dabbling.
Yeah.
I told you, I'm keeping it 100.
No, that's what it is.
And it wasn't just me, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then I got to that point where I realized I had to clean the physical, had to clean the mental. Now I got knowledge of self. Then I started reading and getting my hands on different books and got my 120, started studying, and then it grew to the point where I said, all right, now I take it to the school, came uptown, met the firstborns that were still in the physical, the born bill year, and then continued to attend rallies and come up. And then I consider myself much more immersed in my godliness, if you will, in my civilized duty to be able to go out and teach. If you don't know, you can't really teach.
Right, no, absolutely.
You might be able to guide, but not really teach.
Absolutely. Okay, so he obviously didn't understand the question. Sunyas further elaborates.
We could trace our tree back to that one firstborn. That would obviously go back to Allah the Father.
No, but when I say mention tracing your tree, like for instance, like Dakem Bilal gave me knowledge, who got it from firstborn Prince, who got it from Allah.
Yeah.
You hear what I'm saying?
So the best I would say is from Born Allah, from Bushwick, to his brother Dashan Allah.
Dashan, who gave him the knowledge?
Dashan is his younger brother.
Is his younger
brother.
brother.
Allah gave Dashan the knowledge.
And Dashan gave you the knowledge.
Yeah,
okay. And then who gave the brother knowledge? You know, like, we need to trace it back to Allah.
I couldn't go in front.
Okay, it gets a little, okay.
Yeah.
I realized that he doesn't really have the knowledge of self, and I make him blatantly say it. I make him blatantly say that he has not gone under the study. He's just familiar with the gods and stuff. So,
no, I wish I could, but I can't.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, it really was a lot of job percent. It really was. We knew degrees and we understood certain things, but compared to where we've grown to now and where we at now, the streets are being named for, you know what I mean? And it was different.
Right.
Much different.
it's just one of the many signs of how he doesn't know the language and the dialect of what we deal with.
What impact did the 5% have on you?
Well, it was intermingled with hip hop. So in my progression from being a musician, playing drums and having a band, an R&B band together, I made that jump into being a DJ. So I was a producer actually before I knew what producing was. So I had a hip hop group that evolved from my R&B group. And I had the equipment from my R&B group, which I just switched over to turntables and a mixer. And already had a tape deck. So then I started, we had our first hip hop group in Bushwick. Matter of fact, Bushwick Bill was around at that time. I knew Bushwick Bill before he went down south. Right. Yeah. And I loved the culture from the beginning. From the moment that I heard it, I loved the musicality of it, the idea that this is music coming from every different type of music and it's all being brought together under one. And that's what me and Guru tuned into. When you listen to our catalog, there's a lot of that that fusion and influence and musicianship that went into 7 Grand and into the albums that we do, especially the classic Jazz Jazz Volume 4. We've got everybody from Damian Marley to David Sanborn to Ronnie Laws to Deion Ferris to Black Militia. You know what I mean? So you really get a feel for the fusionistic aspect of my musicality. Even now, right now, my new projects are coming out.
Okay. All right. No, yeah. We gonna walk through all that. You know. Did you ever acknowledge 120?
Yeah. I said back in the, I'd say the knowledge equality. I put it on tap.
When you was knowledge equality?
In the knowledge equality year.
Okay. 2016. You're saying?
Knowledge, born equality.
Born equality. Okay.
About 96. Yeah.
96. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So like years later,
I had it at 16. Like I said, I had the structure of it. I knew the Supreme alphabet, but that's about all you needed back then. You know what I mean? Like the
I mean, 120 has always been there. I mean, but some brothers just stay at.
I didn't go all the way through it, but I could. You know, I peace God, and I used to days math. I knew the days math, but really getting into degrees, where you know your degrees, know your plus degrees. Know your history. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm just really concerned with 120 lessons.
Yeah, it took me, I say 6 months.
6 months to knowledge 120?
Get my whole 120 down, put it on tap.
Yeah. Okay. So where are you nowadays with your lessons?
Versed. I got
You
my
versed?
120 on tap.
Okay, yeah,
Going through that. I go through it. It's kind of good because I go through it now with the young guys. So I'm going through it with him to get his one. So I'm kind of going through the degrees constantly.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So what would you say your favorite degree is?
When it came to being guru, and that was the degree, was the wisdom God degree. You know what I mean?
Place that was manufactured.
That's right.
The name of the place.
Yeah, same as Pilon.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
John also your brother and companion. And that's what I always said to Guru. We always said is that in the degrees, he's telling you, I'm not only your brother in good times, but I'm your brother in tribulation. When times are hard, I'm gonna be there. I'm your brother. So he's just be somebody's brother when things are good.
Right.
Much more difficult when things get,
That is such a beautifully powerful degree that speaks directly to the overall conflict with him and the others involved with the Guru estate. I'm going to touch on this a little later in this video. Now, in doing music, how has the knowledge influenced your music?
It's interesting because this whole 7.20 being used in the popular culture, me and Guru started that. I started that, but the first album we put out was Guru version 7.0, the Street Scriptures.
He says that he made up in hip hop, he made up when people say that their version 2.0, 3.0 and shit like that.
That was the first time the computer jargon or language was used in a cultural sense, in a music or movie type of sense. And from there, it's everywhere now. Everything is 1.0, 2.0.
Yeah, true,
And that was directly related to the math. People would ask, well, was it 7.0? Why wasn't it 1.0, 2.0, and then we went from 7.0?
Right, and that's a point that you could kind of start building with the people.
Exactly.
Because he released Guru 7.0.
So anybody in the know, we know right away.
And he's the first one that made that up, and now everybody in hip hop that does it got it from him.
And same thing with 7 Grand.
Right.
The label. That was the record label, the successful record label that me and Guru founded, 7 Grand Records.
When did you meet Guru?
I met Guru in the Wisdom Understanding Cypher year, going into the Wisdom.
There's a Cypher Understanding.
Yeah.
2003.
No. 2000. Going into 2001.
Okay.
Yeah. And we actually met through a mutual friend, through Black Jesus.
Okay.
Esau Allah, Kundalini's son.
Okay, I know who that is.
Introduced us.
Okay.
And we became fast friends. And the interesting part about it was that to hear Guru tell it, I had more bread than him. I had the house, I had the cars, I had the new truck. You know what I mean? And I'd already been to Europe. I already did kind of really cool things with music that he was impressed by. He's like, oh shit, so I already did all this. So we just became friends. So me and Guru were like friends for about a year before we even talked about collaborating in any kind of music or starting a label or anything else. We just was good friends. We were about the same degree. We had relatable life stories. So in the book, I talk about that, like what kind of life I was living, and at the same time, how was his life that he was living in Boston, so people can get a real understanding of the type of brothers and friendship that came out of the relationship, you know what I mean, which was totally healthy and positive, nothing negative whatsoever.
Were you a fan of Guru like before you met him? Or
This is maybe what the haters locked in on most is that no, I really was not a big fan of Gang Starr. I liked one track, Just to Get a Rep.
Just to Get a Rep.
Yeah, I was more into Dre, the Wu, Mob. There's a lot of independent groups out at that time that didn't make it big that I was into. So there wasn't that element wasn't there. So it wasn't like I met, oh God, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
It wasn't there. And I think he
appreciated. But of course you heard of it, and you.
I think in his own way he appreciated that. I don't think he really would have wanted that, to be honest.
He wanted you to be like a fan of.
Yeah, exactly. I think that it impeded a lot of relationships that he had. I think were hindered by that, because if he sensed in people that they were like deep into, I don't know, he did a line for that. He called them male goopy bastards, actually.
Male goopy bastards.
It's a line in one of his songs. So I don't know. I didn't dislike it, you know what I mean? But
Right.
And I remember, you know, cats used to come to me and be like, "Oh, can you make like a DJ Premier beat for me?" And you know, and stuff.
I mean, well, how did you respond to that? I mean, did you?
Before I met Guru.
Before
I met Guru, kids, you know, certain kids would come to the studio and they yo, can you make me a DJ Premier beat? I'm like, no.
So you're not a fan of DJ Premier? You never
no, they would have asked me to make a Dr. Dre beat. I would have said no. I'll make you a solo beat.
Right. But are you a fan of like you know, because you know Premier has a legendary catalog. Are you a fan? Were you a fan of his music before?
Yeah, my thing about Premier and what I appreciated or still appreciate is that the relationship that him and Guru had was really a very, what's the word? I don't like to use the term magical, but there was a chemistry to their relationship that evolved into a sound that became his signature sound.
Right.
And I know more about that because I was there. I was in D&D every day. I hung with these dudes. I did shows with these dudes, smoked with these dudes, drank with these dudes. So I was deep embedded in the camp. We were out, we used to hang out in VIPs together. So I know him very well, and he knows me very well. And I knew the whole camp very well. And I was there and watched him at that point evolve, but I also had Guru telling me, you know, how he discovered Premier, how he came to New York as Gang Starr, and then he added Premier on to Gang Starr. You know what I mean? Right. So that gives me a unique perspective. And then the second perspective is that when we started doing our Jazzmatazz tours, the Groove and Solar tours, we toured with a band, either a full band or a short band. So I took all of the Premier songs or Gang Starr songs that we did in our show and I retooled them to do with a band. So that gave me an even greater insight and appreciation for the music. You know what I mean?
What was Guru's mindset when you met him at that time? Like, was he like focused? Was he like, you know, determined, or like what was his mindset?
It varied because he was in throes of alcoholism, you know, and anybody who's had experience with alcoholism, you know that there's different versions of that person. So there's the sober, I'm gonna get my life together, I can see a way out of this, and then there's the defeated, like I don't care, hand me the bottle, that's it.
So your initial impression was
he was sober when I first met him. But then as we started to hang out and get to know each other, I actually watched the alcoholism start to. He used to try to control it for me because he knew I frowned on it, and he I'm not gonna say he looked up to me because he was older than me, but there were things about me that he really respected. We had very different backgrounds. That's why I implore anybody that's really a fan of Guru to read the book. The book is not all about the bullshit. The book really talks about what this man wanted the world to know about him, and he entrusted his brother, his heir-like, to tell that story. And he felt that I would tell it accurately, and I gave my best effort to make sure to tell this story accurately to the way Guru would have wanted it told. Not to make money, not to shit on anybody. I just put the truth in there as it was said to me. I lay out the facts as I understood them, or what can be researched, or what can be proven in the public record, and everything else is life. What goes into a genius? What goes into making a man like Guru? He doesn't just pop into the popular culture. He had to grow into this. You know, what kind of man was he? Like I talk about in the book, he came from Boston to New York with no people, with a duffel bag on some fuck it. I'm gonna do this. I never did nothing like that. You know what I mean? That's respectable in and of itself. That's balls. That's a man. It takes a set of balls to come to New York and not have any people, and have your people in Boston tell you, fuck you, don't come back. You go down there to do that, because like I said, his father was a judge. And his mother was a school teacher. She was a sweetheart. They were like my parents. They adopted me to a degree. You know what I mean? And our friendship, me and Guru and him sobering up, healed the rift between him and his father.
He constantly cites moments where Guru confessed to him that he is the greatest dude he's ever worked for. Ever worked with.
So, like I said, it's a great read. For those who want to read it, the pictures are in the book. And that's what makes some of the lies so deplorable for the so-called hip-hop media. All you had to do was come and ask me. This kid talking about, I swooped in on an ambulance and took over Guru's shit. We were brothers for 10 years. I got pictures going back 10 years with my son being born, with his son is my godson. His mother and father called me son. And you gonna tell this lie to the world? To hurt this man and say he's a homosexual when you know better? Come on, that can't be right.
There are rumors circulating around that Solar and Guru had a homosexual relationship. According to the guard K-Bond, as well as the Caucasian woman who alleges she has a child with Solar, Solar and Guru did not have a homosexual relationship. Yet they both reiterated that Solar was very controlling of Guru in everything he did. At what point did you decide to form a label with Guru?
And that goes right into what you were saying. So let me pick up from there. So he's in the throes of alcoholism. So he's really spiraling now. He's sleeping on couches. The dudes who he's with, they're just enablers. They just want to be around him and they're using him for whatever's there. And I'm looking at him, I'm looking at them. I'm like, how long before there's just nothing to use? He's almost there now. And he knew he was almost there. And as he was going to the, I would say the very end, he had a court case that he could have been doing time over it. He had financial problems, the alcohol, and I just told him, I said, look, man, I'm done with it. Like, either if you're gonna kill yourself, you're gonna have to do that all by yourself, bruh. I'm not gonna stand here and watch you.
Right.
And peace, that was it.
What was his response?
There was no response. I changed my number.
Oh, so you
I cut him off. And a couple weeks later, he called the Earth. He called my queen, he acknowledged both of us as brothers and sisters, and he saw her as his real sister, the one that's running around, that was talking all that bullshit, that flagrant shit. He hated her.
Guru allegedly hated his sister, and thus by default, the sister's son, which is his nephew. He constantly reiterates how he hated his sister. I'm sorry, but if I wrote a book on anyone I loved that was deceased, I would not put no family shit in there.
They always hated each other from the time they were kids. Asia, my Queen Asia, who's well known equally within our nation, that's his sister. That's who he accepted as sister. He reached out to Asia and told Asia, yo, I'm sober, I'm clean, give me the guy's number, let me call him. And I checked my voicemail and I heard a tone in his voice I never heard before. There was a certain tone in his voice. I was like, I heard that I'm not gonna drink shit. Right. Anybody who's dealt with an alcoholic has heard that more times than they can count. Right. But I never heard that tone. So I hit him right back. I'm like, peace, God. He said, God, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. Signed up for AA, taking my classes. God, I want to do what we said. I'm out of here. This is my last album with EMI, with Gang Starr, with all this. I'm done with this shit. And look, I'm not
This is in 2000?
This is in 2002. 2002. 3. Like right going into that. They were doing the owners, which he did sober. He did his tours for the owners, did sober, and then that was it. They never saw him sober. That was the first time they ever saw him sober. So he was like, God, that's it. Done, cleaning up. We can do this, we can talk about what we were talking about, and we can start thinking about that. I said, beautiful. And a lot of his alcoholism problems was due to frustration from his career. He had a jazzmatazz that didn't get the level of promotion that Gang Starr got. He didn't understand that. I still don't understand it. Jazzmatazz is such a groundbreaking series of records. Right. And the Europeans are all over it. Like even now, they're still all over it. And the States are just, EMI had this idea of this schizophrenic situation where Gang Starr fans is over here, Jazzmatazz fans over here. I'm like, why? That's why I made Jazzmatazz Volume 4. Let's make an album that everybody can enjoy. And put Guru with Common.
And well, I want to note that Premo was a part of the Jazzmatazz series up until 3.
Yeah, he did production, did like a song.
Was he on the first one, the very first one?
I don't think so.
He might not have been on the first one, but the second and third one, he was.
They did a track for Spike Lee, and he did a track. But to say he was involved other than that would be wrong.
Right, for the first one. Yeah. But second and third, he was much more involved with the
No, he just did a track.
He just did a track.
Just a track.
One track.
He submitted a track to the album.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Jazzmatazz was completely produced by Guru until I produced Volume 4. Oh, pardon me. And Volume 3, The Street Soul, which was probably his least favorite Gang Starr. They brought in the Neptunes, he brought in the Roots, so they brought in outside.
So that was his least favorite. He didn't like it. No?
Out of the series, that was his least favorite. Right. I think he had. I think it was just. Let me put it this way: not creatively. I'm not speaking. It was that he felt the album had much more potential than it reached. Right. That it should have done better. Angie Stone. He thought that was going to be the one that was going to be, boom, and radio friendly. He thought he had radio hits on it.
According to Wikipedia, Guru began indicating that Gang Starr had reached its end in 2006. Is that accurate?
No.
No?
No. Gang Starr was essentially, maybe from a public perspective or somebody else's perspective, but Gang Starr
That's what he says.
Gang Starr was effectively over after the Owners. That was the last album. EMI dropped them.
And that was what year was that?
The Owners was 2003. So they toured it, and that was it. That was it. Their contract was over. EMI told them they're not picking them up. They're not renewing it or whatever. And their commitments was over. Premier always had his own things that he was doing, and Guru said it's time for me to go and do my own thing. And it was amicable. There was no hurt feelings. I saw Premier after that plenty of times.
Did Guru ever indicate that he had an issue with Premier, like during that time?
Well, again, like I said, I don't want to say everything, because I would like people to read the book, because it really does put things in perspective. But yeah, there was things going on behind the scenes that Guru was very uncomfortable with. He was very uncomfortable. He felt that it was backstabbing. He felt that it was, what's the word? Disloyal. And there's hard feelings for money. Guru was broke. They stole millions of dollars from him. Lawyers and managers and scurrilous people. And again, I go into in the book. Nothing new about it. I mean, there's nothing new about a movie star, or a rapper, or a rock star getting robbed. I mean, he fell into that. And that was a part of the alcoholism also. So there's always going to be that feeling, and then it happens in hip hop in general. A lot of groups break up, so what? That's what I used to always say. Why are you making so much of a big deal about this? Like, you're trying to force Guru to go back to Gang Starr. That's only going to make him not want to go back. Whenever you try to force somebody to do something, they rebel.
Just to be fair, like you said, they had a signature sound. So people really missed that and really wanted to hear.
No, I can appreciate that. And I can. I'm talking about some low, dirty shit, behind the scenes shit, where you fucking with a man's money, you're fucking with his career, where you literally trying to back him into a corner where he has no choice. You know what I mean? I did an interview with Chuck not too long ago that appears to have gotten buried mysteriously, and I talked about all that. And he actually admitted. He said, we felt that you were forced on. So I said, how can I force people? I couldn't force somebody to buy a ticket. We had 3 sold-out world tours. I can't force somebody to buy a record or stream a record. That's ridiculous. And by taking that position, you're making Guru feel like you're forcing him to go back to Gang Starr. There's no future for him. And he's looking at other dudes, he's saying, what about Method Man and all these other dudes from these groups and Snoop and everybody who he admired intricately, and we know all those dudes. We did shows with them and stuff. And nobody ever bothered them like that, because they went out and did their little side projects or had other things going on, acting or movies or other records with Redman or whatever. And, what I'm saying is the point, and all that is brilliant material.
Right.
Nobody did anything like that to them, either publicly or as far as I've ever heard behind the scenes. The RZA just said everybody do their shit, and they did their shit, and that's the way it should be. So of course Guru had feelings as a man, as an artist, that this was dirty, it was underhanded. And me being there, I'm in a stuck position, because look, I'm not looking to go to war with anybody. That's not who I am. You know what I mean? If you study my history, you look at the interviews and everything, I've always been the peacemaker. I always try to be that calm voice and try to find something that we could build on rather than something that we got to go to war. You know what I mean?
It was rumored that he wanted to go back to Gang Starr. Did you hear
That's a lie.
That?
That's a complete lie.
No?
Here's the truth. The truth is, we recorded a Gang Starr album. Sans Premier's beats. So Premier was going to be given the songs for him to do his tracks, to do his thing. Premier, obviously Guru knew how to work with Premier better than anybody else.
Absolutely.
So we recorded the album, wrote the album with the anticipation of having Premier come in and do his work, but he got murdered before that. So, all these dudes jumped up with these scurrilous, off-the-wall, fantastical lies and stories with not a shred of evidence to back up anything. Not a song, not a verse, not a beat, not a contract, not a picture, not a voicemail, nothing, zip. So they just throw the shit out there, and here comes this crazy-ass hip-hop media, the devils, for 10%. Here we go, let's go with it. You're gonna go to a fucking groupie that in her fucking story, she says, we were in the house and she heard a Corona bottle hit the wall.
This groupie that he speaks of is a Caucasian woman that alleges she has a child with Solar, which the guard K-Born, who was there during these years, also verifies that she does have a child with Solar. And not only does she have a child with Solar, she also was a secretary and office manager for the 7 Grand record label. This is the same woman that Sunyez mistakenly identified as Guru's baby mother in the earlier part of this video. However, Solar describes her as a groupie.
You're gonna go to a fucking groupie that in her fucking story, she says, we were in the house and she heard a Corona bottle hit the wall. She doesn't even say that me and Guru had a physical altercation, which we did, and I got the worst of it. I ended up walking with a cane for fucking 2 months, traveling to Europe. They left that part out though. That me and Guru get into it. Most times he get the better of me. Not every time. So yeah,
so y'all got into it pretty much.
No, not often, but yeah, we were brothers. We scraped. He's a master law now. I'm a master law. Yeah, we get into it. Look, we're running a business together. We're touring together. We live damn near.
So was it usually over any? What was it like just being too close to each other at times?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. You know, or somebody's pissed. I'm pissed about something he did stupid, or
and these were physical altercations you get into, like.
Yeah, we sometimes. Wow, not a lot, but we had a few scrapes. I keep it 100. Yeah, we scraped a little bit. Yeah.
This alleged groupie that he has an alleged child with describes Solar as a manipulative, controlling liar that cannot be trusted. How many projects did 7 Grand Records release?
We put out total with me and Guru. We put out 4 albums released.
Right.
Then of course I put out the 5th album, Solar Dark Side of the Sun.
And there was stuff before that. You saying like
yeah. We had a song called Lies that was released in vinyl, 12-inch vinyl, and we had one other thing that we released on vinyl before we went into the full album release of 7.0.
So we had like singles and stuff, or like
yeah, we did like two 12-inches. One is Lies, it's on Solar Dark Side of the Sun. So all the bulk of the work was released on those 4 albums. Then we had unreleased material. I have unreleased material that's about to come out. You know what I mean? Either with or without DJ Premier.
When we go into the book, it's clear, and he said this to me, he does own whatever Guru owned as part of Gang Starr. He has those rights.
Now, DJ Premier has stated in several interviews in the past that he would like to do a new Gang Starr album. This is where it gets even more interesting. A few months after this interview, DJ Premier came to a law school in Mecca with Fat Five Freddy and Guru's son to shoot a music video off the Posthumous project with the late Guru's vocals on it. In this interview, Solar states that he thinks that fans want a Gang Starr album.
I think the fans would prefer to have an album with him on it, and he can, but I have the songs in their original form, the way that they were originally recorded and produced.
According to a recent article on thesource.com, Solar accuses DJ Premier of production plagiarism on the new Gang Starr album. I asked Solar what he thought about the possibility of a new Gang Starr project. Here's what he had to say.
But I have the songs in their original form, the way that they were originally recorded and produced. So
I'm just waiting for him
to yay or nay.
Yay, nay.
You know what I mean?
According to the Source.com article, Guru's last known affiliate has been committed to not only continuing Guru's legacy, but also letting the world know who created the original music that has been released as Gang Starr's long-awaited LP, one of the best yet. Now, DJ Premier and Solar don't seem to have an agreement on this latest project. According to Solar, him and Guru recorded the album together.
But you can't make an album and erase me from the project when me and Guru recorded the project. It was our baby. And the idea was to give the fans that Gang Starr album that they were asking for. And probably a tour. You know, we were supposed to do Kimmel. Yeah, and you know, we told them they wanted to do a reunion with Premier, and Guru was like, that'll happen, but not right now. Right now it's you know, me and Solar. We were promoting Lost and Found.
Apparently, somehow, DJ Premier got his hands on Guru's vocals and produced the new Gang Starr album, one of the best out.
In some type of way, I know Guru's process of recording, and once he partnered up with his partner, business partner, I could feel that there's some recordings that exist because I know his work ethic.
Those that were in tune, if they really would have listened or got in tune, they wouldn't have had to murder this dude. Like, the murdering him was the most ridiculous part of this whole fucking story. Like, why do you murder the goose that lays the golden egg? It's ridiculous.
Right.
Who benefited from that murder? And this ain't one of these times where we start pointing fingers at the boogeyman, the Illuminati and all that. This is...
Now, no one would have wanted to see that. Like I said before, this man's language is a bit curious. Yet I continue to do the knowledge and inquire about how he operated his 7 grand record label.
You know, the concept of 7 grand was really my concept. But then Guru has so much of his own knowledge and experience in the industry. Like I said, it was a perfect match of visionary ideas that I had, that he was like, yeah, we can make that reality. We can take that from here, and we can take
now it's born.
Yeah, we can do that.
Right.
And we did it. Not only said we could do it, I directed videos, State of Clarity, which is considered a classic, Hood Dreaming, we did it on a huge budget, out in Hollywood. That was a dream come true moment.
Losing Guru back in 2010 was a big blow to hip hop as a whole. I recall hearing he was sick and in the hospital, and in the next few days, I heard he was gone. He returned to the essence.
It's one of the hardest things I ever had to deal with. You know, he's a strong dude. I mean, anybody else, that cancer would have killed him in months. But, you know, he hung on. But, you know, they hit him with that very virulent, strong fucking strain that there was no hindsight looking back on it. Once he had the operation, he was done for. You know what I mean? But again, you gotta. I want the fans to read the book, even if they don't buy the book. You know what I mean? I prefer the fans to buy the ebook. Let's save the trees. Buy the ebook if you can. If not, you know, buy the physical book if you want. It's on everywhere, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. And if you can't, I'm sure if you're computer savvy, just hit a few buttons, you'll find it for free. Right. The whole idea is just read the book.
So now this book is written, is like basically like a memoir of your time with.
Yeah,
Guru.
You could say that. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it goes into really, like I said, into the nature of the man. What went into Guru? What goes into Solar? You know what I mean? And the critics that have read the books, they've been very, very kind.
Sunez is indeed a huge critic of his book, and he was far from kind in his critique of the book.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, no, I read this fucking book for you, so you don't have to read it though.
In doing the knowledge to the book, I noticed that it's mostly about Solar and what he has done for Guru in the last years of his life. A quote from the back of the book reads, "At the center of this story is his producer, longtime friend, and business partner Solar, who has come with his full version of the mysterious events surrounding Guru's final years during his split with DJ Premier. It's been over 7 years since that time, and the effects still linger. Rumors of everything from his sexuality to his mental state and his final days all hang around a Google search about Guru's life and death. Solar is ready to clear both their names and free Guru's true legacy for his fans."
It was a badly written book.
The reviews have been positive, and they've said I've got a future as an author, and I take on that. I do plan on releasing more books. So, like I said, any fan of Guru, Jazzmatazz, Gang Starr, you'll enjoy the book. And this whole idea that the book was written to hurt anybody or harm anybody, no. It was written to tell the truth, clear up any misconceptions.
No facts are in this book, but lots of narcissistic tendencies.
Nobody or anybody has refuted, not one word in this book has been refuted, in which I say peace to that. That's the smart thing to do. Let the lies have been there, let the truth stand. And obviously, if it was full of anything that was not correct or anybody could prove differently, you better believe you would have heard about it already.
I feel that Guru couldn't get off the alcoholism unless he changed his cipher. And he figured an extended change in the cipher going into his Jazzmatazz roots and then Solar clinging to that was a way he felt he could get rid of it, because Solar didn't advocate him drinking. And that was a plus that he felt he needed.
You know, there's a lot of questions. So I appreciate you even.
And look, listen, I'm trying to be as open and as proactive as I can be under these circumstances. I feel that this is going to call for more than a book. This is really going to call for a documentary and a movie.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. As I'm doing the research, man, there's a lot there. I mean, are you aware of all the accusations on your name?
Look, I mean, it got to a point where I just stopped. You know, and they all came out at one time. So when you look at it, it's all from 2010, from April 2010 to maybe August or September
of 2010.
Yeah, that's it. And then it's just been recycled and recycle and recycle. Like, what the fuck is the point? Like, really? You know, what is the point? It's either if it's real, you step up and you verify it, and if it isn't, let it go.
Right.
What is the point? You know what I mean? So the book is here, and people can read it. I mean, not everybody's gonna. What happened here is, and what's really kind of fucked, is that there was a whole disinformation campaign. It's very similar to when you hire a firm to promote something. It doesn't even have to be a record. You just hire a marketing firm, and they make it hot. They make it trendy. Well, there was a marketing firm that was hired. They were just trolls, dark web type people, and they were hired to do the opposite of making me popular. They were hired to slander me. But now you're not just slandering me, you're slandering Google. And this man is dead. He can't defend himself. So that puts me in a horrible position. Then they take me to court, get a court injunction to stop me from writing the book, stop me from releasing the documentary or the movie. Now you got to ask yourself the second question: why would you do this if you're not implicit? And why would you do this to somebody you love? Why would you want your son, your guru's son, to read or hear anything like that, even if it was even a fraction true? Why would you want this kid, my godson, to, and none of it was true. Keep in mind, none of it. And some of it is just so fucking flagrant and disgusting that it makes my blood boil, literally.
Yeah, you know? I mean, I've come across some really things that I'm pretty sure would get under your skin.
Yeah, them dudes, none of them dudes cross my path. You know what I mean? I run out in New Jerusalem with guys out there, and I'll tell you this: somebody made the mistake of trying to say that shit out in the street, and they paid a heavy consequence.
And Jared, like you,
New Jerusalem, New Jerusalem. The guys out there, let me tell you, it got real quick.
What part are we talking about?
Power of Truth.
Power of Truth. Okay, it's passing. Right? Passing. Okay.
Got real quick. So listen, in my travels, none of these dudes come across my path, and nobody who I know, no gods I know or earths or anybody believes any of that, and nobody in my community, nobody who's ever known me or knows me believes any of this shit. So people that don't know me that want to believe it, I can't do nothing about it. That's some of the bullshit that goes with fame. So it is what it is. All I can do is tell the truth and say and tell anybody, you step to me with any of that, it could get real very quickly. Me nor any of my people or any of the gods want to hear any of that.
Were you with Guru when he was diagnosed with myeloma?
Yeah.
In 2000?
No, I wasn't with him. He called me from the murderer's office.
The murderer's office.
Yeah. And you know, I saw it right from the door, and you know, it was done in such an insidious way that it was almost like written in stone. It was like almost nothing I could do about it.
When he talks about the end of Guru's life, he constantly blames Guru for choosing the wrong doctoral path in his medication and treatment and surgery.
And they talk all this crap that I had so much control over him. I had so much control over him, he wouldn't have cancer. He wouldn't have died. He'd still be alive.
As opposed to Solar, who made the better choice that was not heeded.
You could have stopped him from having cancer, or?
Yeah, well, I again, you got to read the book. This is in and of itself is a couple hours. Right. So just to make the long and short of it, there were people that should have been cut out of his life that he told me were cut out of his life that were not cut out of his life, and they were the progenitor to the cancer. And if not just the progenitor, the protagonist to the cancer, where they made sure that any chance of him beating it was eliminated. So that was a 1-2. It's like the hitman shoots you in the chest and then puts one in your head to make sure. You know what I mean?
Right. And he was strong. Like stayed 10 years. That was like 10 years.
No, 1 year. He was gone within a year. He got it in 2009. He was diagnosed and he was dead.
Oh, okay. Well, no. According to Wikipedia, it says he was diagnosed in 2000 and that he wanted to keep it quiet.
Nah, it's all scams. It's all, and that they rewrite that shit on the daily. That's what I keep saying. The internet is full of bullshit. It's just full of nonsense.
So he was diagnosed in 2009.
Yeah, you look at that. That's why I sent you the video. Her dreaming. That dude is as healthy as a horse. He looks like in a Hollywood action star. Okay. So this is all to fit other people's narratives. This is all to fit their story. How you gonna keep that secret for 10 years if you got cancer? It's fucking impossible. Not the way me and Guru was doing the touring and doing interviews. He was busy as a beaver for 9 years. Right. 4 albums, 4 years back to back. Owners, 1 album, 1 year before that. He was a hard-working dude. I think he was part Jamaican, man.
Well, Guru, he went into cardiac arrest, and then following that into a coma, right? And February 28, 2010. Is that accurate?
Yep, not at one time. So
okay, so
yeah, so he went to the hospital. His hospital stay, he went in February, passed in April. So he was in the hospital for 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah, like almost 2 months. And so, you know, it's like anytime you go in the hospital or a situation like this, you have a couple good weeks, and then, you know, he had a heart attack, then he came back from the heart attack, then he slipped into a coma or a comatose state, as the doctors, anoxic state as they described it. He came out of that.
So when did he go into the coma? That was in February?
It was an anoxic state, so it's not exactly a coma.
Okay.
It had to do with blood levels, chemical levels. So when they got under control, he came back to consciousness.
Okay, so he did come back to consciousness.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so he was in and out of it until he was out of it.
How long was he conscious for when he came out of it?
Weeks. So he was only out of it for the shortest period of 2 months. So
and he came home during that time?
No, he had to stay in the hospital. They kept him in the hospital, was giving him chemo, and, you know, they were trying to save his life.
But his family denies that he ever woke up.
It's in the hospital record. So at this point, that's why I wrote the book. The doctor testified at trial. Testified, never stopped anybody from going to the hospital to see him, nor would I ever try. I would never even dream of stopping anybody from seeing their relative that's sick. And it doesn't even make sense. How can me, an outsider, stop family members from seeing a man who's sick in intensive care?
And he says to me that he couldn't, there's no way he could stop people from visiting. And that is not true. That is not true, because I went through my old earth, and when they are in that state, people that have medical proxy, because he's the one who says he has medical proxy countless times through the book, you can't stop people from coming through. You actually can, right? That is a power that is invested in you, right?
So you weren't the only one who witnessed Guru waking up from this.
It's in the hospital record.
It's in the records, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The things I say in the book is provable through the public records now. The doctor testified at the trial, so it's a few swipes, and it's there, and it's in my book. And it's written there in the physical form, so nobody's disputing that. And if they try to dispute it again, there's a court record now. The doctor Ariel Fisher testified at trial that Guru was in and out of consciousness. I have the court records. I have the court trial transcript. Or anybody can go on and get the transcript.
Right.
It's just none of it was true. And now we have a book that is exactly what I was saying from the beginning. This is all scurrilous lies. And
right.
I mean,
and the transcripts are in the book, or?
Yeah, I quote the book. Yeah, I quote in the book. Yeah,
Well,
and I mean that's it. I mean, it's how many lies can you disprove before people? They say when you go to a court case, the judge tells the jury, if you catch this person in one lie, just forget everything else they say. You can discount everything else as lies. They was lying from the beginning when they said I wouldn't let him go to the hospital. So right there, people should have pulled back the media and said, whoa, let's take us, you know, make sure we're fair about this. Let's not just say anything and let's go with it.
Right.
We don't care. Somebody says Guru's this, we're not going to go to the neighborhood that he lives in and ask people that see him every day what kind of person he was. We'll listen to a groupie. And this was it. You know, we're not going to listen to Solar, his brother, and his producer. We're going to listen to some other nutcase that comes along and says, he was going to work with me and do an album. Where's the proof? And you gonna put that shit out there like it's factual. You know what I mean? He wasn't working with none of them dudes. The dudes was clowns. He was shitting on them dudes, man. Those dudes used to come up to him. He was like, "Get the fuck away from me." You know what I mean? Not in those words, but he didn't want no parts of those dudes. He looked at them like, "Oh, you were just all trying to use me when I was drunk. Now I'm dead. Now you're still trying to use me." I imagine what he would say if he could see all of this. Yeah.
This letter that was written. Guru allegedly wrote that after waking up, he said that he didn't want his ex-DJ to have anything to do with his name, likeness, events, tributes, etc. Was Guru, was his attitude always so harsh, towards Guru, towards Premo,
I had to read the book, man. It's too much for me to go into right now. But the answer is no. It wasn't always like that.
It wasn't always harsh.
No. But he knew when he was in the hospital, and before he went in the hospital, a lot of things that, and they knew he had cancer. You know what I mean? Like I said, you got to look at the whole totality. They're saying certain things, but it doesn't make sense what they're saying. So there has to be another story, another version that makes sense. And that's the book. That's the true story. Right. The real story. What Guru was thinking. Why did Guru write the letter? Why would he write something like that? How did he do it? They're talking about him. He wrote that shit and gave it to his publicist to write. That had nothing to do with me.
So you didn't have anything to do with helping him write the letter?
No, I told him when he would do anything that he needed to do. If he needed my assistance, I would assist him. But at the end of the day, he hit send, and it went to his publicist, and his publicist put that. I don't do press releases.
Right.
That was his publicist that put that out.
Who wrote this, first of all?
Guru wrote some of it himself. Some of it he was able to write. The myeloma affected his bones, his hands, and his coordination, so he couldn't write. So I made a lot of notes, was kept on my own. I don't do press releases.
Right.
That was his publicist that put that out.
His family said he never woke up from the coma.
Yeah, and I contradict that directly. And have said from the beginning. Now we have a doctor's record and testimony of Dr. Ariel Fisher testified in court at trial.
Who that wrote the letter
on the record? Yes.
Okay.
This is what I say to other people. If it's a lie, what in it is a lie? Don't just say it's a lie because you don't like it, because it makes you uncomfortable, because you don't like the outcome of what it might turn out to be.
Right.
Point out what's the lie. What in there is the lie? Where's the lie? Nothing in that letter has been disproven. Guru had a terrible relationship with DJ Premier. That's a fact. Guru's son is my godson. I produce pictures in the book, and by the time the documentary comes out, you're going to see so many pictures of his son and my son and me that you can't but mistake what a close-knit family we were. That was my brother, that's my godson and my nephew.
So his son
and his relationship with his baby mama was horrendous, and he didn't feel that his son was going to be looked after. She never even brought him to the hospital to see him while the man was dying in the hospital of cancer. Why don't they bring that up?
So in this book, he constantly notes that Guru's baby mama, as he calls her, didn't visit. He hated her. He let her do what he was gonna do, even though Guru still paid for her college education and all that.
Again, only thing I can tell the fans is this is the way Guru felt. Now, whether that hurts your feelings or makes you feel bad that him and Premier had such a fallout, or that he didn't feel comfortable with his son, without his son having me in his life or being a positive influence in his life, and his godson, his brother, my son, his Guru's godson, cases. So these were things Guru feared when he had cancer would happen, and he tried to, in his own way, head that off. Right. Now, how could I say something like that if it's not true? Like, who would do that? It's impossible. And why, if it's not true, have they not presented some counter evidence to that? Or even speak publicly and say, that's not it. He was never close with his son. I got a photo album of books and a catalog of videos of every birthday, every born day. The kid got his tooth broken. I went with him to the dentist to get the bonding put on it. Okay, these are all.
You still have a relationship with his son now?
No, they shut that. They shut that down. They shut it down. That's why I said they didn't care nothing about Guru's wishes. They didn't care anything about his legacy. They only wanted to hijack it. That's what this dude is doing. They try to hijack his legacy.
You said this dude you're talking about. In particular, when you say this dude,
listen, Justin had nothing to do with Guru or Gang Starr. Right. Guru had nothing to do with that dude.
At the time of this interview, I was unclear as to who Justin was, and was disturbed to hear Solar speak of the family member of a man he called his brother.
Right. His father was a homosexual. He committed suicide.
I would not put no family shit in there.
Justin is Guru's nephew and son of the sister Solar alleges never got along with Guru. Justin shared a story of how Solar got in the way of seeing his uncle just before he returned to the Essence. He explained to the viewers on his YouTube channel that he told Solar about the story of his father and that he was prepared to see Guru in whatever condition he was in.
He had mental problems and mental issues. Justin, yeah. Okay. That was Trisha's husband. Killed himself. Okay. It's these people were very dysfunctional, and Guru kept his distance from them. So they have no pictures of them with Guru. It has nothing to do with me. Okay. They don't even have childhood pictures of them with Guru. He and that system from the time they were kids was no bueno. They didn't mix. The brother, yes, but the sister, no. So as I guess an extension of that, the son, Justin, would try to have a relationship with Guru, but Guru rejected it. Right. And that had nothing to do with me. But that's a fact. I saw this guy one time. He came to a concert in LA, and Guru was like, he's a fucking weirdo, you know? And I was like, well, whatever. I don't know this dude. You say he's a weirdo, I guess he is. And from everything I've seen afterwards, he is. You know, he's got mental problems. I guess anytime your father kills himself over a domestic situation, maybe that does cause you to have some problems. But don't take that out on Guru or me. You know what I mean? Or why should we have to, his legacy have to suffer because of it, and my reputation have to take blows? This guy doesn't even have the decency to take down the lies that's on YouTube. Now that the facts is all out here. It's all out here. Pictures are there. Pictures in the book of me and his family are in the book. Me, mom, and dad, and the sons at dinners 10 years ago.
Right.
It's there. So this whole story about me swooping in automatically is just, it's gone.
He constantly reiterates that he was Guru's medical proxy while he was when he was battling cancer at the last stages.
Well, I want to point out that like on the Sway show, you stated that you helped Guru write the letter.
Myeloma affected his bones, his hands, and his coordination, so he couldn't write. So I made a lot of notes, was kept on my own.
He wrote it all on his own, is what you're saying now.
Yeah, he was sitting, when Guru constructed the letter that he needed to construct. If he needed my help with anything during that time he had cancer, whether it was writing a letter to get out to the publicist, whether it was sending out tweets or Twitters. He had multiple myeloma affects your bones. Okay, so it's a disease that causes almost arthritic type of what's the word I'm looking for? Affliction. You know what I mean? So certain days he couldn't hardly do anything for himself. I'd have to help him with very basic things. You know what I mean? I was his caregiver for some period of time. That's why I told you the degree that I told you is that it's easy to be with somebody when the times are good and we're traveling in jets first class, but try being there when he can't even make it to the bathroom. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yes, I helped him when he needed my help, but the letter, the content of what he wanted to get out and how he wanted to get that out, that mechanism was between him and the publicist. His relationship with his publicist.
It was rumored that Guru's father, who was a judge, had to have his body sent home.
No, Guru wanted to be cremated. So that was a whole nother
situation.
Yeah, so they just made everything too big, too stupid. He was in the hospital. He was GOD. He wanted to be cremated. I respected that. I equally wanted to be cremated. When he passed, I was the one that was there at the hospital every day. I came to the hospital to see him last before he returned, and they asked me, what is the arrangements for him? They said, you have to do that or somebody has to do that. I said, well, I'm going to transfer him to the local funeral home.
And have him be cremated?
He'd like to be cremated, but ultimately the family's going to have to make the call. That's their call.
Right.
So he was transferred to the local cemetery, crematorium, funeral home, next to the hospital, which is in Rockland County. So from there, they could do whatever they wanted to do. I told them they knew what his wants was to be cremated, and to their credit, they agreed. So they cremated him there.
Okay.
And
so there were no issues. So his father didn't have to send for the body or anything like that.
No. He was cremated at the funeral home that I made the arrangements, or the hospital made the arrangements to send him there. So from that funeral home, they could have done anything they wanted to do. Either adhere to what his wishes was, cremate him there, or transfer him, bury him if that's what they wanted to do to go against his wishes. But like I said, they thankfully they saw it his way and at least let that final wish be his last.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So many intricate details to unpack from this interview. None of this is to be taken on face value. We have to face the value of what it is and not what it appears to be. When God called me and said you want to interview someone, I said, oh wow. So like, what I'm saying? So now I'm doing the research. I said, there's a lot behind it.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot behind it. So,
somebody was very busy. Let's put it that way. Some people were.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And even speaking to a few people, like, a couple of the contemporaries, like in the hip hop community, they question the validity of the letter.
That's it, right. Anybody can question anything they want. If they don't have another letter that goes against it or will anything, the courts accepted it. Supreme Court ruled in my favor. So
okay, so you're saying your face as of right now, who controls Guru's estate?
The estate covers the estate, but there's certain assets that are mine.
There's certain assets.
Yeah.
So
in particular, the rights. They tried to stop me from doing the book. Right. I can do it. So everything that was $7,000 is mine.
When we go into the book, it's clear, and he said this to me, he does own whatever Guru owned as part of Gang Starr. He has those rights.
Would you interfere with Premo if he decides that he wants to release unreleased Guru material?
He doesn't have unreleased Guru material.
A few months after this interview with Solar, DJ Premier and Guru's son came to a law school in Mecca to shoot a music video for a song titled Family and Loyalty off a recent Posthumous Gang Starr album called One of the Best Yet.
In some type of way, I know Guru's process of recording, and once he partnered up with his partner, business partner, I could feel that there's some recordings that exist because I know his work ethic.
But if he decided, if he came across it and like, okay,
he could only do it through this, what I've just discussed.
Through you.
Yeah, through the situation where, not through me, it was through Guru. Guru recorded the songs. Right. Me and Guru recorded.
But I don't know if they recorded stuff like together.
No,
or
they did not.
No,
I can evaluate emphatically, it doesn't exist. No,
it doesn't exist. Okay.
No, and that's what I think is stemming from this, is that there's the disagreement that you can't put out material that me and Guru did and then pretend it's yours, or you and Guru did it. You can't erase the history.
On that same article of thesource.com that I mentioned before, there are a few links that were provided to what Solar states is original songs that DJ Premier plagiarized. Here's a comparison.
Diamonds are forever like family and loyalty, or real rap songs like Cream or my melody. Diamonds are forever like my infinite thought, like respect in the hood that can't be bought. Diamonds are forever like family and loyalty, or real rap songs like Cream or my melody. Diamonds are forever like my infinite thought, like respect in the hood that can't be bought.
If you listen closely, there is a similarity in the chord progression. However, Premo is definitely a master, and his version outknocks Solar's version with the overall higher quality of production.
It was produced in its earliest form, and those people that are producers in the business, they'll know when you're writing songs and produce songs, they go through evolutions. So this was at the point where it was ready for Premier. It's ready for Premier to come in and add his parts and go into final mix downs and final production, whatever that was going to be.
First thing I thought was, man, how is his son and his family going to still be able to eat off of his legacy? And we wanted to make sure that was operating from his publishing and all of that, to make sure that his family's getting it, because we know how a lot of artists pass and our families fighting over money.
When Guru's son came to a law school in Mecca to shoot the Family and Ties video, he stated that he had heard about the 5% from his dad, and that he does want to learn more about the culture.
So, do you know about the 5% from your dad?
Yeah, a little bit about it, yeah.
So it was discussed when you was growing up in the home?
Yeah.
Are you carrying on as far as living out the culture, or having aspects of this culture?
Recently I've definitely been thinking about it, because one of my friends, his father was 5%er too, so I'm definitely trying to tap in more, learn more about it, for sure.
Well, peace. So, what brings you to Harlem today? To Mecca.
Well, shoot today, but I really do, like I said, want to learn more, about everything,
Well, that's peace. That's peace.
To be just and true, I think the rights to Guru's music should be in the hands of his son, who was a small child when his father returned to the Essence. Like I said earlier, it was a few months after this interview took place that Premo and Guru's son, along with Fab Five Freddy, visited a law school in Mecca to shoot a video off the latest Gang Starr album, to which Solar expected more involvement.
The history has to be intact, my involvement has to be intact, and it's going to be what Guru wanted it to be, not what you wanted it to be or anybody else wants it to be. And if not, then not. You know what I mean? I'm not going to bury the music, so at some point people will hear it.
Obviously, Premo moved forward without Solar being as involved as he would liked. It's clear that Solar isn't happy with the latest Gang Starr album that DJ Premier put together with Guru's vocals.
But the Jazzmatazz album, obviously, that's an album that's going to be released. The other unreleased music that wasn't a part of the Gang Starr project.
Premier has stated that he wants to do a documentary. Would you contribute to it?
Of course, but I don't know. He's free to do any documentary that he chooses to do, but as far as the Guru's rights to a documentary movie, that was all given to me exclusively. So
would you stop him? Would you get in his way if he decided that he wanted to
I don't know. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not going to speak on hypotheticals. So when there's people reaches out to me, then I'll address that when they reach out to me.
We got onto the topic of his own music, where he raps and produces for himself.
I released a single a couple years ago called Livest, which was a top 20 urban digital hit.
Go on Solar Official, that YouTube, and listen to Solar rapping in his own rap song called The Livest. So.
We did like 40,000 downloads on iTunes. That was when people still buying tracks on iTunes. That was a couple years ago. So that was really a very stupendous moment for me to release Livest featuring Whodunit.
I'm the livest wire you ever seen. Positive and negative. It's elemental. Truth with my flow. Sinister ministers feed swine to the mind.
It showed me as an artist, a solo artist, so it was a way of addressing the hate and the bullshit that I couldn't stand on my own. And I rap on it.
The kids recorded degrees. Got the rocks crumbling, they stumbling. Empires collapse. The cycle complete. Line level guards meet and greet.
It is one of the most pitiful, out-of-pocket, robotic, uncharismatic displays of MCing I've ever heard, though.
Ha! I know Sunya is to be a hater of good music. Yet, this is not my cup of tea either. To date, this video has over 503,000 views. So someone somewhere out there enjoys this.
Me is more or less a Kanye type situation, or Pharrell or what have you. So yeah, it's a great song. I'm very proud of it. Livest, the video is directed by me also.
Oh, it's online.
Yeah, you picked it up. Livest,
okay.
Livest.
Okay.
Solar featuring Whodunit.
Right.
So that did very well. You know, it's still doing good. The video's got like 500,000 hits on YouTube. So you know, I continue to strive to keep making music, and now I'm writing and, you know, being a positive influence with the youth. And I work with youth, with champions, young boxing champions, and I've always been involved with youth at risk, homeless youth. You know, I'm active in my community, and you know, I'm enjoying my life, to be honest. I'm just pursuing my peace, love, and happiness, God.
The first is the lack of knowledge of self, yet full claim to coming in the name of Allah. I find that disrespectful.
Proper education always corrects errors. Sitting down and building with him, you can see that he knows something about the knowledge of self. He may need to sharpen up on a few degrees, walk and talk with the true and living, and let the 5% teach him. His son also can benefit from the knowledge of self. So we welcome him to bring him around and get these teachings right and exact.
It's like Elijah said, here's the glass. You know what I mean? It's clean glass or dirty glass. At the end of the day, if you want to drink dirty, filthy, shitty water, that's on you. Here's the clean glass.
Now, something stood out to me in this interview in which I wanted to point out. He said that his favorite degree is the Wisdom God degree.
It's a Wisdom God degree.
What is the name of the place where the devil was manufactured? Now, his wisdom doesn't seem to be enough to stop the devil from being manufactured in his life. So this is the reason why he has so much trouble, why he has so much hate in his life.
There's a lot of people hating on Solar, though. He get fucked Solars like a motherfucker, though.
If he would pay more attention to his ways and actions, perhaps he could take the devil off his planet and take the hate out of his life. Again, I suggest that you give any and all rights that you have to Guru's music to his son. Give it to his son. That would be the right thing to do. I'm pretty sure that will stop and quell some of the ill feelings that are manifested toward you. Now, this is what I have drawn up, sitting down and building with the man. Willfully, he could get it right, so he could quell all the problems in his life caused by what? Himself. All the above is caused by the Son of Man. And with that, I say peace. Well, again, I appreciate you coming through.
INFMEGA is a pleasure. And you know what? If I got to be on the hot seat, it's better to be on it with my like. You know what I mean?
INFMEGA did this.